You know, you want to go like fresh? You guys want a fresh Dylan take? You want a fresh Dylan take? I have not seen this. I've not seen this. I've just seen that some people, especially some very wealthy individuals, are not happy about it. And other people are celebrating Bill Burr as the one who didn't fall into Joe Rogan's stinkhole ideology. The sinkhole that just grabs so many other comedians into the MAGA sphere. Or into weird alt media right-wing nonsense. No, instead, we got Bill Burr out there saying, and I quote, "Billionaires are rabid dogs who deserve to go away forever." I have not heard this. I just saw the headline. I just saw the reaction. I have not heard the full quote. And so and the byline is "put him down." I'm sorry. So it's so over the top. The byline is "put him down." Put him down is the byline. My God. Okay, let's listen. I haven't heard it at all. I want to hear it.
The people that are struggling out there because of these f***ing billionaires, and they got us all arguing liberal and conservative. We got to stop doing that. Like, I am so tired of hearing about people going to bed worried about what's going to happen next week. There is so much fucking money in this country, and there's so much work being done, you know. And if you work a full fucking week at a job, you should be able to pay your fucking rent. You shouldn't have to go out and get a new fucking job and still be struggling. It's bad for the country, because then the kids don't see their parents and they're not getting the upbringing that they need. It's so fucking, these fucking billionaires, they need to be put down, you know, like fucking rabid dogs. They're like rabid with fucking greed and just going out and just dividing everybody.
Damn. My gosh. My gosh. Okay, so let's man, sorry here. Okay. Let's start with the positives. I agree that every single person who works a week should be able to have a roof over their head, should be able to feed themselves, and every American should be able to have health care. And I'm sure we agree on every single one of those points. And the fact that there are people who are doing everything they can to take off every financial burden off themselves, because they don't, in my mind, they don't respect the contributions society made to help get them where they are. They don't want to make the contributions back to society in order to help build society up, which helps everyone, which even helps them, but helps everyone. Because if they don't want that financial burden on themselves, they're going to do everything to go out of their way to both capture our governmental institutions, to make the laws in their favor, and they're snobs about it the entire time, right? And so I agree that these people need to be challenged. Now, when he says put them down, I mean, like, man, I don't know. Am I too much of a lip cuck? I'm like, I mean, I guess, like, you gotta give me, like, a list, right? You'd have to give me, like, a list, right? Like, I'd have to be like, oh, this oligarch works in, like, making chemical weapons. Okay, I mean, you know, I feel like I would have a list, because I feel like, you know, someone's like a frozen food manufacturer billionaire. Like, if they're hungry with greed, then what's the cure? Is it putting them down, or is it just targeting the center of greed? You know, targeting the political influence and then taxing them properly. But he's also a comedian, so this is the thing. Comedians get away with stuff like this. Comedians are supposed to get away with stuff like that. At least that's the idea. They're supposed to be able to push society more, be able to hit on the fact that, hey, 35,000 Americans, or thousands of Americans die. This is an old number, so I'm just going to say thousands of Americans die now, because I don't know if it's still statistically accurate. Thousands of Americans die every year, even though they could have gone out and got treatment. But because they felt like it would have put too much of a financial burden on their family, they did not seek treatment. And the ones who did, eventually, they ended up having worse medical issues because they waited so long, and it could have been resolved at less cost at an earlier date, putting less pressure on our healthcare system. This is broken. This is broken. Not to mention, those people staying home are not economically productive. Not only is it inhumane, not only is it not giving everybody the opportunity that they deserve when we talk about this as ourselves as a land of opportunity for young people who are now not going to be able to have a full stomach when going to school in the morning because they don't have the money to. But this is also economically stupid. We pay so much more than other countries. And and you know what sometimes angers me about like economic growth numbers that I see where there's positive stuff. We see, growth in construction, we see growth in this, but then I'll see like one of the main growth job areas is in the healthcare industry and like the administration of health. And it's not necessarily like a nurse, but we're talking about the people who are like the middlemen. And I'm not saying that these people don't deserve good paying jobs, but I'm saying that there's so much money being seeped out of it in overhead for these companies and profit with gigantic bonuses. And the reason you saw so many people so sympathetic to Luigi is even though nobody would normally endorse murder, getting them to be able to care about somebody in charge of one of the healthcare companies that is the worst when it comes to, getting people the money they deserve. When you're talking about United Healthcare Group, they deny people's claims at a much higher rate than the industry standard. The reason people had that because they just thought of the thousands of people being denied, and then they remember those personal experiences. I remember the people in my life with cancer being denied treatment, dying, and then getting letters like, "Hey, you're gonna get the treatment now." Like, it's just horrible, horrible, horrible stuff. And people reflect on those experiences. Of course, they're not gonna care. And him being a comedian, he can express it like, "Yeah, screw him, put him down." If you're standing in the way of thousands of people getting treatment, then obviously that's a problem and it needs to be dealt with. But I also don't think that even putting them down will necessarily solve the problem. You just what you'll do is you'll like deal with one billionaire, another one will pop up in their place. You got to make structural changes, and like random acts of violence isn't necessarily going to be a fix. Not everything is just like the Shinzo Abe assassination, where somehow everybody after the fact in Japan was like, I guess he had a point. That was such a bizarre assassination. I'm a dumb institutionalist, okay? I'm a boring institutionalist. Shoot me now. No one is saying all we do is shoot them.